I remember I was in West Virginia doing this morning talk show. I'll never forget it. And I'm being interviewed, and then the audience got to ask questions. And this one woman says, "Are you married?" And I said, "No." She says, "Do you have children?" And I said, "No." She says, "What are you, one of them lesbians or something?" And I just smiled, and
my lesbian friends have kids. What's
right? Well, but you got to remember, I mean, this was like 30 years ago, right? But I will never forget that. I laughed because I thought, oh my God, talk about the status. Here I am. I've written a book. I'm a plus size model. I live in New York. I'm doing all of these great, fun, interesting things in my life. But I'm not okay because I'm not married and I don't have children. So there is something in her mind wrong with me. Isn't that, talk about instinct?
Welcome back to the Bombshell Business Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Hurdle, and I'm literally trying to keep my laughter from coming out right now. I know if you're not watching on YouTube, you can't really see it, but I have that Cheshire cat grin on my face because I'm so freaking excited to have this conversation with my friend today. So let me give you a little bit of a heads up of where we're going. So in this episode, my guest is going to share how to get the best from your sphere of influence. She believes that everything is about being helpful, and the more help you offer, the more money you make. So let me tell you about my dear, sweet, amazing friend, Carolyn Strauss, who makes my heart so happy. Carolyn is a former CEO of a multi-million-dollar apparel company, one of the top professional female emcees in the world, and sought after professional speaker, having earned her CSP, which is her certified speaking professional designation. You've heard me speak about that before. It's really hard to get. She is the author of 5 books, the co-host of the podcast Another Day Above Ground, which is hysterical, and is a member of the Screen Actors Guild. Carolyn believes that a good day contains chocolate. That's obviously why we're friends. Welcome to the show, my beautiful friend, Carolyn.
Thank you, you gorgeous bombshell. You, how are you?
Oh, I'm good now that it's like the end of the day and I've got you and I've been looking forward to it all day long. So I think we're about to have a pretty fantastic 30-minute conversation.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, so my biggest issue is wasting anybody's time and attention. Right. Time and attention are our most valuable assets. And if somebody is choosing to listen to us, and by the way, I listen to podcasts, even mine at 1.3 or 1.5 speed. So if I sound like this, it's okay. It's really okay. You can just listen to me really fast. I can talk really fast too.
Well, we're both fast talkers anyway. So then that's kind of like really a 2.0 speed.
Yes. Yes. We can get a lot in 30 minutes, but yeah, but thank you. Thank you everybody for listening. Amber, thanks for having me on. Hey, this is so fun. Any time spent with Amber is time so precious. I really feel that way about you.
Back at you.
Thanks.
So let's talk about this little help thing. And I definitely am aligned with you on that. So I believe exactly what you said, but I want you to personally explain what you mean by the more help you offer, the more money you make.
So let's look at sales. Okay, so I speak on sales a lot. In fact, I was just at the Advertising Specialties Institute, which is the top promotional products conference in the world. And I spoke there. I did 2 sessions on sales. And I started out by asking, how are you an offer of help? It's actually the question that you want to ask yourself. Now, I understand that most of the people who listen to your podcast, I'm going to guess, are women, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about that. I do not want you to be an offer of help at the cost of your own well-being. I need you to listen to me. Do not help someone if your tank is not full. If you do not have the capacity to be okay when you're done, stop. Pull back, say, you know what, we'll get together later, or we'll talk about this next time. I'm not going to give you this offer of help right now. Right. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I can't, you cannot give what you do not have.
That's right.
So as women, we tend to sacrifice. Stop it. Oh my God. Have you seen the Bob Newhart Stop It video? Has everybody? Oh my gosh. Okay. The first thing, this is if you get anything else from this, if you get anything else from this podcast, go to YouTube, type in Bob Newhart Stop It. I won't work with anybody who hasn't watched that. Not all of my clients watch it. Okay. It's the best 6 minutes you will ever spend. Okay. That's first. Second, now, if you do have the capacity to do what you do and help the people that you want to help, ask yourself, how am I an offer of help? Not how am I selling something? So as Amber mentioned, I had the third largest clothing company on the Home Shopping Network for 18 years. It was the Carolyn Strauss collection. We renamed it CSC Studio in 2008. I started it in 1997. Wow. In 2008, before the world collapsed, I decided that I wanted to step back from it for a little while. We changed the name to CSC, get it? Carolyn Strauss Collection. We changed the name. Then the world collapsed. My 401k completely disappeared. And I realized I had to go back to work. So I went back to work on my own collection, which is a whole different podcast. But we did not sell pull-on polyester clothing. Okay, that's really what it was. It was pull-on polyester spandex or clothing. But what we did is we made easy wear, easy care clothing for busy women so that after they got dressed, they didn't have to think about themselves for the rest of the day. That was what we did. So we were an offer of help by taking the constant conversation that women always have in our heads. Do I look okay? Do my clothes feel okay? Is everything buttoned up and tied up and, showing the right amount of whatever it is that I want to show? And that's your choice completely. But I took that off the table for women. And that was how I was an offer of help. So when you're thinking about what you sell, even if it's, I don't know, give me an example of something that one of your clients sells, Amber.
Oh gosh, there's so much. So let's say I have a vacation rental industry manager, a short-term rental manager, and he or she owns or manages a lot of different properties. So what they want to do is acquire more properties into their portfolio so they can then sell room nights to travelers and guests. So how can they be an offer of help to a homeowner who might be either self-managing their property or they're with a larger company that doesn't really give them like the kind of experience that they want? Where would we go there?
So I would clearly look at how are you an offer of help, like you said, to the homeowner. So if you're going to take on their property, how are you a different offer of help? Meaning you will make sure the property is clean, right? Even though other people do it, you do it in a way that you prove it. How do you prove it? You take pictures before and after. You send a video before and after. You make sure that the lock boxes are changed every time so that somebody can't get back into the property, right? You're an offer of help where you take any worry they might have. And what you say to them is say, look, we're only here to help. What worries, what concerns do you have before you come work with us? What concerns do you have that we can help you with? And continue to use the word help, because it's not sales.
That's
it's
right.
Help. And then turn around and look at it. How are you an offer of help to a traveler? Well, hotels are ridiculous right now. They're just stupid. You and I have both been traveling. Hotels are ridiculously expensive. Cars are ridiculously expensive. How are you an offer of help where you can say to somebody, look, instead of staying at the ABC normal hotel that you stay at, we can help you by putting you in a bed that's comfortable with your own private bathroom where you won't hear kids running up and down the hall. Or we will keep your family, give your family a place to stay that will be even better than your house at home because it's got all of these additional amenities. So it really is, it might sound simple, but it's really just a different way of looking at your business.
Well, and most women in general, and of course, a lot of my listeners are pretty powerful, strong women. So maybe not as much as this group, but I still see it of where sales feels icky because, you see those like hashtag boom bro guys out there who are like schmarmy and everything is a fake sense of urgency. And I'm not saying all men, because I've got you and I share so many amazing men who are just like ethical and amazing and we could take advice from. But there's this subsection. And I think that's the subsection that's on the internet that people are go like, ooh, sales is gross. It's like the old used car salesman kind of persona done online now.
But wait, there's more.
But,
you buy right. I was on the Home Shopping Network. But
yeah.
wait, there's more. You can get a set of Ginsu carving knives with this if you order right now for the first 100 people. Get a set of Ginsu carving knives. Seriously, did anybody ever try those? Did those ever work? I have no idea. Anyway,
I'm a Jay Henkel person myself.
Me too. In my kitchen right now. I swear. Okay,
this does not surprise me.
Of course.
So I the one thing, like when I walk people through putting their brand guide together, there's one page of it, and we start with the problem solved. We don't start with what features do you have or what benefits do you have. It's always like, what problem are you solving for your customer? And so just changing that language for you is, how are you helping the customer? And then we can look at, okay, well, then what's the benefit if they get that problem solved? And then we can look at what feature do we offer that gives them the benefit that solves their problem. You have to do it backwards.
You have to go backwards. It is true. And it is. So as women, we tend to want to help. As the feminine gender, we are designed to support and help, right? So what we naturally want to do is support the people around us. Again, not at the cost of ourselves. It's funny. I did a whole program for paraeducators for the school system, for people who work with the teachers, who work with the kids in the class who need the extra help. And I did that several years ago. And I did a whole exercise on the difference between sympathy, empathy, and compassion.
Oh, that's so good.
Sympathy, I believe, is when you are sympathetic with that person. So you feel, right? In sympathy, you are actually putting yourself in a place a little bit psychologically above someone else, so you feel badly for them. That's what sympathy, I believe, is. Okay. Then there's empathy, which is the M, which means with. So with someone else, you've got the, I'm feeling with you, meaning that it's going to cost me. Compassion with passion, with emotion. I can stand here, hold my space, and allow you to have whatever situation is going on for you. I can hold the space, but not take it on. So as women, I want to invite us to not take on other people's stuff. Don't take it on, hold the space for them to have it. Right. Yeah. So in sales, hold your space, hold what you offer, hold the offer of help that you are, that you are, and be better at it than your competition. Right. Be better at it.
Or be different.
Or be different. Right.
Do it differently.
That's right. You don't have to be better. Look, I am not the best keynote speaker. I'm one of the best MCs, but I'm not the best because I'm different. Nobody can do it the way I do it. Like you, Amber, nobody can do what you do the way you do it. And by the way, I've experienced Amber's branding work. If you haven't, just do it. Okay. The offer of help that she is genius.
And I guess that's where, younger Amber would have been like, oh, well, what's wrong with me? Why don't they pick me? Like, that kind of thing. But now I think once you get into a space where you realize that you do offer value and you are helping somebody, it's like, if you don't want my help, then go get it wherever you need it from. But like, I said this before, we were talking about something personal. I'm like, there are billions of people in the world. I just have to find my few. Billions of people. So there's a whole world.
You just said something. You said, as long as you're an offer of value. Do you know that, how I define value? Something's only valuable if it's useful and it's scarce. Something's only valuable if it's useful and it's scarce. So I'm going to assume that all of our listeners are useful, right? But what is it about you that's scarce? It's your ability to help. It's your time. So if somebody doesn't take you up on your offer of help with your time, amen. Bye-bye. Thanks for playing. Here, your new name is next, right? It's like with men, your new name is next.
Is that Ariana Grande? What if you don't want next? What if you're just, did you know? So, we have a lot in common, but statistically, I learned this not too long ago. Statistically, single women are among the happiest humans on the planet.
Duh.
Not to listen, I was happily married. Obviously, my whole audience knows what happened and everything, but I'm no longer married. And I was just like, I'm kind of good. Like, I don't know what this whole grill thing is. Like, why is that so? Why do men like have these grill wars? It's not that hard. I'm like the queen of extermination. I run 10.66 acres here. I'm like, I don't get what's so hard about all this. What was I like, poor damsel in distressing for so many freaking years? Anyways,
because we're programmed. We literally are. I mean, our brains are programmed to mate and procreate. We are programmed to do that. And okay, so we also are status animals. Human females are status animals. Here is the highest status. This is just in instinct, not in our human being, not in our human spirit, but as human animals, human female status goes happily married with children is the highest status instinctually we can be. Second, happily married without children. Third, widowed with children.
Oh my God.
Fourth, business owner, someone who's self-sufficient. Fifth, divorced with children. Sixth, employee and not having your own space and your own. So this is horrifying. I know. And I apologize, Amber. And I had no idea we were going to talk about this.
No apologies.
But isn't that interesting? So the highest status you can be is happily married with children. As human animal, right? As the human animal female. So you ask why people want to get married and have children, or when we're not anymore, if we've chosen to do that and we're not anymore, why it's so devastating.
Yeah, everybody's like, you're so weird. You've never been married?
Yeah. Oh yeah. People think, oh my God. Okay. So I have to tell you a really funny story. When I was 25, so I was a plus size model. When I was 25 years old, my first book came out. It was a book called Specialty Modeling. The original title was Everything You Need to Know to Make a Living as a Model If You're Not Perfect. Because it was for petite, plus size hand, shoe, and character models. So that's the book that I wrote before I was 25. But when I was 25, I was doing the whole talk show circuit all over the East Coast. And I remember I was in West Virginia doing this morning talk show. I'll never forget it. And I'm being interviewed, and then the audience got to ask questions. And this one woman says, "Are you married?" And I said, "No." She says, "Do you have children?" And I said, "No." She says, "What are you, one of them lesbians or something?" And I just smiled. And my
lesbian friends have kids. What's
right? Well, but you got to remember, this was like, 30 years ago, right? But I will never forget that. I laughed because I thought, oh my God, talk about the status. Here I am. I've written a book. I'm a plus size model. I live in New York. I'm doing all of these great, fun, interesting things in my life. But I'm not okay because I'm not married and I don't have children. So there is something in her mind wrong with me. Isn't that, talk about instinct.
So if you'll bear with me, I want to read something out of my book, the Bombshell Businesswoman, How to Become a Bold, Brave Female Entrepreneur. So there's two sections. So we all know Paper Plate Mom. And I talk about like what that married with kids mom goes through and when she's left to overthink and everything. And then I switched to a bombshell who is a single woman, on the other hand, is forever annoyed that instead of being asked about her business or countless successes, she is most often asked if she is, quote, seeing someone or ever going to settle down, or if she plans to have children. The thing is, she's more focused on creating the best, most independent version of herself so that if she does, in fact, want to one day enter a committed relationship, she knows she's a whole person uniting with a partner who will complement, not complicate her life. She travels and eats well. She creates her own agenda and priorities and can't for the life of her figure out why everyone around her is so obsessed with weddings and babies.
Okay, I have a wedding dress story for you. You will laugh, Amber. So when I was 17 years old, so I lived in Boston. I grew up in Boston and I was senior in high school and I never skipped school. I was one of those really good students and, A student. But I was 17 and it was spring of my senior year. And my mom never did this. And she said, let's go into Boston and spend a day on Newbury Street and go shopping. Nice. So mom and I are walking down Newbury Street and we come to the window of Priscilla's of Boston. Now, Priscilla's is like the highest end, most beautiful wedding dresses you could ever see, right? They're stunning. And they were even back in the day. So I walk up to the window and my mother's like, isn't that dress gorgeous? And I look at her. And at the time it was something like $11,000. And I look at her, I look at the dress and I look at my mom and I said, Ma, because I'm from Boston, Ma, why would someone spend $11,000 on a dress she's going to wear, what, 3, 4, maybe 5 times in her life? I was 17, Amber. I was 17. I knew who I was at 17.
Dying.
True story, crossed my heart.
Well, and to that end, and I know we're getting a little off, but listen, we're about to take a turn because we need to have a conversation based on some of the experiences we've had. But, when I met my former husband, and I literally just talked to him today, so there's no big drama there or anything. But when I met him, I was nowhere in the market for a husband. Nowhere on the market. I was like doing my thing. I had a celebrity event planning company. I was living my best life in Nashville. And I happened to meet him and we got married. We were together for 13 years and then we got a divorce. And I feel like everybody was like, oh, is she going to recover from this? I'm like, do y'all know I had a baby when I was a baby? Like, do you not know that I worked how many jobs and I didn't sleep 2 nights out of every week for like 9 months? Do you not know that I have slept in a tent? Like, are you thinking that a divorce that I wasn't even looking for the marriage to begin with is going to take me out? Like, I'm a whole person. I'm just good by myself. And I have like amazing friends like you. Like, I think a lot of our listeners are like us, Carolyn.
I think so too. And I think the most important thing though is do choose carefully who you choose to surround yourself with. Surround yourself with people who support you and love you and appreciate what you bring to the table. Because we all bring something different to the table. I apparently bring a little too much to the table, Amber. Oh, honey.
And so there you go. So let's talk about that because
do we have to? Okay, we
do because that if you're too much, go find less. That's something I say a lot on social media because it resonates with our audience. But how many in our friend group as speakers have been told you're too much?
You and I a little more than others, but yes, I was told it today. I swear before I came to meet you today, and I really hope they don't listen to this, but they might. A client of mine who I did a 3-day MC gig for, and I was on stage for them starting, sound check at 7 in the morning. And I was on stage for them starting at 8 in the morning. And I was on stage until 6 at night, one night till 9 at night at the party. And I mean, all of this. And I kept the energy up for the whole conference and supported them through the whole thing and set up their speakers to win and set up their sessions to be brilliant. I mean, that's what I do. And I had lunch with them today and they asked me to hold next year. And I said, great. And they said, but by the way, you do know that you're a lot.
You're a lot.
Right? I said, what? They're like, you come on really strong. I'm like, isn't that why you hired me? Yeah, but our group might be a little bit more conservative and want to keep people status quo. And I said, okay, I hear you. Can you give me a specific example where I was too much? Because I'm just being me. I'm just out there being me. It's being the offer of help that I am to support their 3-day event in being something that's memorable, that people are dying to come back to next year, where the energy stayed up. Have you been to a 3-day event that does not have a good MC?
Yes.
No, don't do it. It's just bad to not have a great MC at your event, because we've all been to them. We've all spoken at them, Amber. And to have a bad introduction and then to have nobody to keep the energy up when you leave the stage, it's just painful. So I was just being me, but apparently being me is a little too much.
If you're too much, go find less. But here's the thing. So to your point, like the energy is so important. That's why I like the opening keynote slot. I'm like, I will get your energy up. I will get it up. It will set the tone for the conference. Please don't put me on after everybody else has drug it down in some lame, whatever. And I'm not speaking of other speakers, but sometimes they'll try to put people in there to be nice, or a vendor that paid for something or whatever. And although I will say I had a vendor at this last, at a conference at the end of last year who closed. Oh my God. I'm like, you should be a professional speaker. What are you doing? But anyways, sometimes, and we've all seen it. We've all done it. It's like drone on and on. And then the energy's down. I don't have to pull it back up. But so behind the scenes, this is what people don't understand. And like, God bless you for being an MC. I've done it, but that is hard work.
But I love it, right? It's so my wheelhouse.
It is your wheelhouse.
It's my wheelhouse.
It's like a project manager, a cat herder, an entertainer, a speaker, a comedian, a showrunner. Like there's so much going on. And if you're not chopping, if you're not like aggressive about keeping things moving forward, then you're off track and the whole conference suffers. So I don't quite understand how you could be too much when you're you.
Right.
Like that's who they hire. That's who you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And they are holding me for next year. So yay. Right. So I must have done
Wasn't that bad?
Right. But I was on my way back from this meeting and I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about your listeners and people who have either worked with you or just love you as they should. And it's, how much are we willing to pull back? Like back to the dating thing. Am I going to sit there and be quiet? Yes, I'll sit there and be quiet on a date because I want him to show me who he is.
Right.
Right. So I do love dating because I find people the entertainment. So when I get to go on a date, I
see Carolyn the cat, like toying the little ball. Pawing at the little ball.
More of a golden retriever who's upstairs and I'm going, pet me, feed me, play with me. I'm more of a golden retriever than a cat, but okay. But like, so I will be quiet, of course, and pull my energy back. And we all of women have learned how to do that, but I refuse to live that way.
Yeah.
I refuse to work that way. If you're hiring me as a speaker or as a consultant for your company, and I'm going to go in and do some team building with your company, I'm going to say it right to you, what I exactly see happening. And please push back. But these organizations that I tell them what I see, having done all of my research and all my work and conversations with the leadership and everything. And then I go in and then they just don't push back. And I'm like, the whole point is to push back because you can't get anywhere if there's no tension. If the rubber isn't meeting the road, the car's not going anywhere.
But so here's the thing about you and me and a lot of my listeners is we approach conflict as creative conflict.
Although I hate it. It makes me want to throw up though. I hate conflict.
But even just like when you say push back, technically that's conflict. So somebody's going to push back on you. Like you're going to aggressively give your expert opinion because that's why they hired you. And if they knew what they were doing or they could do it on their own, they wouldn't have had to hire you. Back to the whole concept of offering your help. So you're coming in as the expert, but they are the expert on their event, their company, whatever. And so those two things have to come together. Your expertise on the topic at hand, their expertise on the historical data or whatever that is. And if you don't have what might feel like conflict sometimes, then you don't get the best result. You just get what everybody settles for to avoid conflict. Right. And so then you put in the fact that we're women, and like, if you've ever heard men do business, OMG, savage, right?
Yes.
And then we come in and we are like 50% of that energy. And it's like, she's a B. Mm-hmm. She's too much. She's a B.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm very sheltered because I just don't do business with people who can't handle me. I like, I don't put Tony the Tiger on the front of the cereal box. I put the ingredients and all of the health information. And I'm like, this is what you're buying. Just making sure, Tony Tiger's back there too. It's going to be fun, but you need to understand this is it. And I'm going to tell you that you have spinach in your teeth because I am the velvet machete. So I'm going to do it because I love you. But I'm not going to sit here and watch your train wreck happen and get paid to not avoid the train wreck. Like that's not going to happen on my watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, well, we are. But as women, the most important thing to be is crystal clear who we are, what we offer, and how we work. So I'm sure you've heard this phrase, Amber, from other guests of yours, but it's a phrase that I got years ago. I first heard it from Scott Friedman, who was the president of the National Speakers Association many, many years ago. And he's a friend of mine. And he has a phrase that says, "Let me tell you how I work." And that phrase is the most powerful phrase I can find in my business, because when somebody says, well, we want to do this and this and this, and it's not within my scope or what I do or how I'm happy to play, I will say, well, let me tell you how I work. I work this way, and you can engage with me this way, and we can do this kind of a contract or this kind of a contract, and we can do this and this. And if they say, well, we don't do it that way, I'll say, well, maybe this isn't a fit.
And and that's okay.
And that's great. Please. Okay. Rejection is God's protection. Please go.
but in fairness, like, and we talk about this, I've talked in the book, it's like, you do not want to collect clients that you don't really align with. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the guy you just broke up with or the gal you just broke up with. There's nothing wrong with you. I mean, there might be, but let's just assume there's not, because we're all normal human beings. What happens is there's just a misalignment. And so if you engage professionally, I don't care if you own a retail store and you have somebody who routinely shops there that just wears your team out. She always brings stuff back. There's always returns. She's always got a problem. She's always complaining. She's always looking for a discount. Like, if that's the person that you're like actively trying to like make happy, then guess who she's going to tell about your boutique? All of her friends. Well, who do you think her friends are? People just like her. Do you really want to build your business on referrals of people you don't really want to work with?
Absolutely not.
Is that who you want to help?
That's right. That's right. So be an offer of help, but don't do it. Like I said at the beginning, be an offer of help, but don't do it where it costs you. If it's someone who's very high cost to do business with, don't do business with them.
Yeah.
Really, really free up your time and space. So one of my favorite phrases goes, the space for what I want in my life is already being filled with what I'm willing to settle for.
Oh, say that one more time.
The space for what you want in your life is already being filled with what you're willing to settle for.
Never settle is one of my life's mottos.
But the space for what you want is already being filled. There are only 24 hours a day. There is only so much energy capacity. There is only so much business capacity. And if you're at business capacity, then hire people who complement what you do, but do not hire another you, because you do not need that. You have you. You need people to complement you. Amen. So if you're at capacity, find people who complement you and can work with the clients that are right for them to work with through you.
Right. And I think what I love about our little world is we all are very clear on what we do and what we don't do. And I don't think anyone, at least in our little group that, I'm talking about, it's, we're not a pick me kind of group. We're not the like, oh, I can do that and I can do that and I can do this and I can do that. It's like, this is what I do. I'll stretch for existing clients, maybe if they need something and I can stretch, and that's not a huge stress on my team, but like, I'm not promoting myself as anything other than branding. If you need a personal brand, an employer brand, or a business brand, I'm your girl. Leadership falls in there. All the psychoanalytics falls in there. There's things that fall under that umbrella marketing. But if you want me to talk about innovation or like Crystal Washington as a futurist, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, let me figure out how to put together Crystal's 20 years of experience in education. No, I'm gonna be like, call Crystal Washington.
Right. I actually got a call from someone, this was several years ago, and said, Carolyn, can you do a program on business ethics? And I said, no. They said, well, what do you mean? No, you ran a very successful multi-million-dollar company. You speak to businesses, you consult with businesses, you help them with their sales, you help them with their execution, you help them with their team building. What do you mean you won't talk about execution? I said, on ethics. And I said, I am not, I said, I know two people who are incredible, Bruce Weinstein being one of them. Mm-hmm. I know incredible ethics speakers. I will send you them. They're like, but we'll pay your full fee. I said, how ethical would it be for me to say yes? I mean, it was hilarious. I don't think that would be so ethical.
It's like when women's groups want to now you're getting behind the scenes. Yeah. We just need some cocktails. We need to go back to Vegas.
Yes, immediately. Immediately.
I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to LA or not. So
I am. I know. I'm going, and I'm going to Vegas next May. So you must be there.
Okay. That part I for sure am.
Okay, good. Okay.
So the thing that tickles me when women's groups come to me and they don't want to pay me what my fee is. And I'm saying women's groups specifically because it's literally women's groups.
Notoriously
it's
women's
not
groups.
Anyone else.
Yes.
And so I just have to ask, I'm like, so just to be clear, you want me to come in to teach your audience members how to define and position their value, but you don't want to pay me mine to do it.
Okay.
Just making sure.
My favorite story is I got a call from a women's group and said, oh, Carolyn, we want you to keynote our conference. It's here in Colorado. I said, great. I said, well, what's your budget? She said, well, we don't pay our speakers. And I said, that is so nice. And she said, what? And I said, so you're doing this conference for women to come for free. So you're getting the venue donated and you're not paying for bagels and you're not paying for coffee and you're not paying for lunch. So nobody is getting paid and you're allowing people to come to this event absolutely free. I love that. She said, what? And I said, you're doing a free event for everybody. And she said, well, no. And I said, you're charging people to come to this event? You're charging women to come to this event? She said, yeah. I said, now I don't understand. And she said, well, and I made her explain. And I finally said, no, I don't understand. So you're going to pay for coffee and you're going to pay for bagels, exactly what you said, but you don't want to pay for the thing that's actually going to make a difference for these women. You know what? I don't think you're the kind of
coffee
women,
at home.
Yeah. I don't think you're the kind of women that I should be working with. And backed out. Just nope. Thanks for playing, but nope.
And I get it. Like I get that there are you want to do an event and you're looking for the it's like, this is what I say to people who are getting married, because I used to be an event planner and I only did weddings when it wasn't tour season because most of my customers were in the country music industry. Or I did it when it was tour season because they were playing and not in Nashville having events. So I told them all the time, no one's going to remember your rubber chicken. No one's going to remember the tchotchke that they go home with. Put the money where the photography is going to pick it up and put the most money into your photographer. Do not cheap out on your photographer because this is one day, but it's like probably the biggest event you're ever going to invest in and plan. And you're going to want this for the rest of your life. And you're going to look at these memories for the rest of your life. And you're more worried about the ice cream bar than you are about getting a quality photographer who's going to help you remember the ice cream bar 20 years from now. And it's the same thing about events. Like, that's cool. If you just want to have free speakers and people in your association volunteer, like rock on. But if you want somebody who commits their life and their career to becoming an engaging speaker who helps people learn, who entertains, who makes things sticky, who makes them think, who, when they walk out the door, they're going to do something differently than they did when they walked in. Maybe don't save those bigger main stage spots for Tom, Dick, or Harry who are not trained speakers.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny. So you said weddings, and I went back to this thought. I was interviewed on a show a couple of years ago. And the guy at the end, he said, I'm going to ask you those really challenging questions. And I have a really challenging question for you. And I said, okay, what? And he said, okay, if you could meet your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give her? And I thought about it for about a split second. And I said, I'd tell her to get married because alimony is easier than what you're doing now. And I just had to throw that out.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead. I'm dead. So I would just say this whole episode is about value. It really is. It's about how do you position yourself as a helper? It's about honoring your value. It's about valuing your too muchness. It's about understanding where you fit in. It's about not letting people take advantage of you. It's about not letting other people define your value and tell you, I need a discount. Listen, I don't go to Burger King and be like, I'd like a Whopper, but can I get it for 50% off because I want to go buy this up the street from McDonald's? No, it is what it is. It's the price. And
can I tell you one more thing that I learned
Absolutely.
Following up on this, and I learned this recently. Your future is created by the conversations that are having about you when you're not in the room.
Amen.
And I just recently learned that, which is something, I mean, I always knew it instinctively, but it's just become present because I just got a LinkedIn message from somebody that I knew years ago, who's an amazing human, an amazing business leader. And he said, Carolyn, I was just thinking about you because we were having a conversation about you in Pennsylvania. I live in Colorado, in Pennsylvania the other day. And I thought, wait a minute, there's a conversation happening about me in Pennsylvania with people I have not worked with in years. That what offer of help are you that people will remember it later? And when they need help that you can provide, they're thinking about you. That's an interesting, I think, new way to look at sales and at women.
And the long-term value of that, because it doesn't go away. It doesn't, I mean, to your point, like it's been how many years?
It's been years.
But you were helpful and now they have a new need where they identify you're the help person for it. And so that it's part of your personal brand. It all comes back to your personal brand. And what are you doing? How are you being of service? How are you being helpful? And it is, scientifically proven that those who understand how they can serve other people and they actively serve other people are the human beings who experience joy, true joy.
Without it costing you your soul,
Amen,
your energy, and your life. So people talk about service and help all the time, not at the expense of yourself. Please, if you take anything away from this episode, take care, put your oxygen mask on first, to be very cliche, but do it anyway. Take care of yourself, do what fills you up, and then you can support other people.
Because you'll have more to pour from. And, and I have to say this, and, let me just bombshells. I know it might feel like we've gone all over the place, but I very early in this episode decided, I'm just going to allow the audience, you, bombshell, to just be a fly on the wall of a conversation between girlfriends so that you can feel normal, so that you can be like, yup, me too. And if we could pull you into this Zoom right now and have you give your experiences and that sort of thing, like I assure you, the two of us would love it.
Yes.
But that's just not an option at the moment. So I just think that it's helpful for you to hear two people just kind of laugh and joke about these things, but also take it seriously. And I do think, getting off the hamster wheel is such an important part of maturing and not being the people pleaser. And some personalities are wired to need external validation more than others. So I don't want to take that away, that it's a learned behavior and it's really, doing the reps to be able to not worry about what other people think and to just do you. And when you just do you and you are offering that value and you're being of help without self-sacrifice. Let me take that phrase back. Sometimes we do need a self-sacrifice. Sometimes self-betrayal, on the other hand, is what's dangerous. betraying who I am, betraying what I need, betraying what's real for me in order to accommodate your truth, your need, whatever's going on in your life that you don't really care about what's going on in mine. In relationship, both, if they're both self-sacrificing at times and they're both taking at times, that's a two-way street. But Carolyn, in the past 2 years, let me just tell you, I have lots of mantras. But one of the newer ones is it's a two-way street or bust. I won't do it.
Yep. And it's not 50-50. It's 100.
That's right.
And you bring 100% of what you have to offer at this point, and I'll bring 100% of what I have to offer. And that's how I work with my clients. And that's how I work with my friends. And that's how I work in my relationships. And it's bring everything you have that you can possibly share at the moment.
Yeah. Right. Where here is right now. And that shifts and evolves too. And sometimes you've done hot
yoga, right? I do hot yoga. I expect my body to do the same thing on Wednesday that it did on Monday. And I walk into hot yoga and I can't stand on one foot. I literally can't balance on Wednesday, where on Monday I was, in like these poses where it was perfectly easy. So you do what you can with what you have at the moment.
That's right. I love that. I think that's a good place to start wrapping things up. So before I tell everyone all the fabulous ways they can reach out to you and follow you online and listen and all that kind of stuff, I always like to ask, and it doesn't have to do anything with what we're talking about, although we've talked about a lot, so it could be, what is one piece of parting advice that you would like to give to a bombshell who is a bold, brave, unwaveringly confident female professional or an aspiring bombshell?
The reason you can't see your own butt is because you're not supposed to. Focus on bringing the best of yourself and don't worry about the size of your butt. You're the only person in your life that will never see your own butt.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. That's why you're not supposed to see it, because we're not supposed to worry about it.
That's right. It's only important to the Kardashians, so let it go.
Unless you're getting paid for it, and then, worry about it and, get it waxed and tanned and all of that stuff that they do.
Y'all, I'm pretty sure that is the best advice, the party advice we've had to date in over 6 years now. So okay, well, let's talk about let's pull up because now I'm all at Twitter. Okay, so you, first of all, Another Day Above Ground is a great podcast. It's really you do a lot of interviews with baby boomers, and it's super funny. And our other mutual friend is co-host. And you can find Carolyn on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. So all of those will be in the show notes, but it's really easy. It's just Carolyn Strauss across the board, Strauss. Anotherdayaboveground.com is the link that you can go to for the podcast. You can email her at carolyn@carolynstrauss.com. And like, I just need you to know, if you need an MC for your event and you're willing to pay for it, because there's a lot that don't, and I get it. Those nonprofit events or whatever, they might have somebody that's a local newscaster or whatever, do it for volunteers. But if you have a serious need as an MC, I can tell you that she is so organized, and she knows how to do the hybrid craziness and all the stuff that makes me want to just melt my brain. She's your girl. So make sure you give her a call or email. Carolyn, thank you for being my friend, and thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for trusting me with your audience, Amber, because I know how special they are because they're connected to you.
Yeah. Thank you for getting it. All right, bombshell. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. I certainly had a good time. Make sure that you leave a rating and honest review. That really helps the show grow. We've been around for over 6 years. That is truly, we haven't done a lot of advertising. So it's you sharing and liking and validating. So when other bombshells go and they look at the reviews, they're like, oh, this might be worth my time. And then they get to hear amazing people like Carolyn. And if you're watching on YouTube, just hit the like button, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And then we will be able to help more bombshells. It's super easy ways for you to pay that forward. We will definitely be announcing some pretty fun things coming up. So stay tuned for that. And other than that, I will see you on the next episode.